What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You with Black Fathers Now. And yo, we have a really interesting conversation that we're bringing to you today. And it's with my man, my guy, Mike Sturdivant. And this brother here, man, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a 21-year military vet. He's also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I ain't gonna hold that against him. You know, we'll let you're afforded one mistake in life, I guess. We'll let it slide though. But you know what? The brother's an entrepreneur. He's a motivator. And I'll tell you what's interesting. You know, he came into my life at a very interesting point in which he literally didn't know a whole lot about me, but we connected the dots and he just started pouring into me. And the thing is, that was not something that was designed by either one of us. That was something that was divinely orchestrated, because at the time that I needed to be poured into, this brother, who I had never seen before, stepped in to pour into me. So we can talk a little bit more about that as well as we go along with the conversation. But fellas in the Black Fathers Now family, and the ladies listening, because y'all like to peep in and listen to what we talk about, let's welcome my man, Mike Sturdivant. How you doing, brother?
Oh, man, hey, more than anything, it's just an honor just to be a part of the platform. And I tell you, more than anything, I'm in the moment. You know, being a father, you know, being in the military for 21 years, that's a thing. 3 combat deployments, all that good stuff. But I look at what God does in the today, you know, because I can't plan tomorrow. And the most important job I have to do today is that my children can trust that I'm going to be there for them. And I love this about Black fathers. It's not just Black fathers, but it's what the monikers about Black fathers is all about. You know, we got a 50% chance with our kids. We either gonna be there or we gonna make excuses about not being there. And that's what I truly love about this platform. I want to thank my wife and my ex-wife for allowing me to be a father, and not only in that context, but holding me accountable in that breath. I have 3 boys and a little girl, and each of my boys, their middle names are Michael. It's my first name. That's because, and I tell you, there's a story to that as well. I never wanted them to compete with being my favorite. I just wanted them just to be who God ordained them to be. And then we just gave them, you know, all, you know, job getting first names, you know. So we let that be for there. My daughter, my princess, she really keeps me grounded. But she run them boys. So at the end of the day, you know, I'm a girl dad, you know, in essence of it. But more than anything, and then of course my wife, I would not be here without her. Just her allowing me to spread my wings and explore, and just be in a moment where I can just grow as a husband, as a man, and truly understand what this friendship thing that goes along with being a father, you know. So that's a short intro for me, you know. That's a short intro for me.
You know, there are 2 things there, man. Before we jump into your story, you know, I have a question. You mentioned that you never wanted your boys to compete for being your favorite.
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from, or how did that concept come about?
So, and it goes back to my beginning. You know, I didn't know my father. I'm my parents' only child. I have other siblings, but I didn't know my father. And all I thirsted for was to be included in the number of who he was, and that I could be acknowledged. And so I always promised myself that as and having kids, they would never have to compete for if I saw them or if I counted them. I just wanted to be there. And I tell you, man, it's one of those things that drew on me my entire life until, you know, that day I was told, hey, you're going to be a father. And I was like, oh man, here we go. You know, you don't want to create the same mistakes. But more than anything, if you don't forgive, you will. And I learned that the hard way, because a lot of the same mistakes weren't exact the same mistakes, but I lived in that practical means of fear about, can I do this? You know, can I, you know, as a father, you know, really set an example, even though I wasn't setting that example in my first marriage and stuff like that. And I'm just being transparent. And so I actually divorced because I never wanted my child to see me disrespect his mom, because I didn't hold on to the vows that God had given me initially. And that's how hard I was on myself as a person. And then I prayed, coming into my family now, I was right here in Leavenworth, Kansas. It was three brothers, one an Alpha, one Omega. We fasted. We fasted for 21 days. And in that fast, I asked for, if God would grant me an opportunity to have a family, I would never disappoint him. I also prayed for a woman that would hold me accountable, and she had Christian values I could be molded into. And then I also prayed to be able to have enough to take care of my kids. True story. My wife's maiden name is Christian, and she holds me accountable. The other portion of that, I've been living on every aspect of that fast since 2003. Since 2003, every aspect of it. And so that's how I know that the power of fasting, the power of asking God for what you want, and living in the promise, but you also got to live in the integrity of what that promise provides. And so fast forward, we ended up having 3 kids in 4 years.
Wow.
And I was gone for 2 years on deployments. And that woman stood there strong for me, holding that family together. And then when I came back from all of that, I had a stroke. And so now she's holding it down. And I'm really, I'm a shell of a man that, I can't be in the sun. I can't do much for myself. And she was there for me, And so that loyalty and that integrity about family. And then also, we started doing this thing where we understood what it is to be parents, but it was in being together. It was one of those things where it was like, oh man, we got to figure this thing out. So those first couple of years, the kids kept us so busy as parents, right? Taking care of each other was hit or miss, And so then the conversation date night conversation were only about the kids or what we had to do coming up.
Wow.
Or a date night would be a game or something like that. And so over time, I started really examining in my relationship with God, it was always like, I'm not giving you tomorrow to fix this. You got to fix this today. And so with my kids, it was this one incident where we allowed our kids to mimic us. And let me tell you, it was so gut-wrenchingly sad at the kind of father I thought I was and the kind of father and the kind of dad I was being. And I say that there's two dichotomies. The kind of father I thought I was this nurturing, hey, how you doing? How's school going? Hey, come on, got to clean your room up. Come on, hey. I was talking at them, and I wasn't interacting with them, right? And so they would do my walk, they'd do my voice, they'd do, hey, how you doing? Hey, hey, I love you, love you, love you. Hey, get this room cleaned up, and this is wrong, and how come, what's wrong with school here? And man, it made me sit back and kind of I had to take it because my kids started showing me the accountability of what they're going to remember about me versus what kind of time I spent with them. And so then I was on a mission, man. I was on a consistent mission to, if they said they wanted me to come see something, I would come and see. If they want, with no comment about what it was. If they wanted me to do something, I did it. If it was school and, I don't care if it was just sit here, to help me with this. And so it made it so much more important about being present that I was just so dead set on that one thing. And then I had to really focus on, how they viewed me and my wife's relationship, because what I noticed is that as a man, you will choose the man, you will become the husband based upon the men you saw your mother with.
Wow.
Right?
That's deep.
And you won't ever come into being the father your children need. Because as a young man, you want to protect your mom, or you want to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes, or whatever the case may be. And for me, it was like I never sat down to understand that I have to be almost 5 or 6 people. I got to be a man. I got to be a dad. I got to be a father. I got to be a husband. I got to be a leader. I got to be an example. I got to be priest. I got to be provider. I got to be friend. And then when you start prioritizing those for my wife, I got to be her friend, protector, provider, and priest. For my children, I got to be protection, provider, priest. As a leader, I got to be accountable. And so when you start jumbling all these things together, you forget who you're talking to at times.
Wow. It's like multiple personalities.
Yeah, because when it comes down to I'm the head of the household, but I don't run nothing. I can't come in and tell people to, you know, and you say, hey, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. You're trying to be accountable to what God has given you stewardship of, but you also got to understand that kids are watching how you work together. So your frustration can't be in those moments of the anxiety about where you're trying to anticipate what God's gonna do, and you trying to do it because, as men, what we try to do, we try to fix it before God in the seat, right? What happens in marriage is God makes you one when you trust Him in the faith of the belief that hope is not an option.
The faith of the belief that hope is not an option.
Hope is not an option. Yes.
Wow.
Right?
Say,
because
you know, hold on, because I think we talk a lot about, you know, faith and hope, and there's a lot of folks that don't really take it to account and really look at faith being something that we need to believe that it's already done.
Yes.
Versus it being a scenario that I have faith and I'm hoping that it might be done. And so it's really delineating between the two and having that perspective, right?
Yeah, you got one foot in, one foot out. You know, I don't. My faith has no hope in it. None. You know, we got to make this happen, and we gotta assure that, you know, we can't panic because, you know, now, you know, you got more bill than money. You know, you can't panic because, okay, you know, the kid is sick and you're waiting to see if it's pneumonia or a common cold. You know what I'm saying? Your faith has to always speak loud in the loudest volume ever that God is going to work it out. God is going to work it out.
Hold on, man, dude, because you said something there, and we got to jump back on that. My faith has no hope in it. Like that's the thing that I think we have to really be mindful of as it pertains to faith, as it pertains to thinking about faith.
Yeah.
Your faith has no hope in it. And I've never really thought about my faith in that particular manner, that my faith has no hope in it. But the reality is, if it truly is faith, then it really does not have hope, because hope is, you know, I'm hoping something will happen. The faith is the belief that, guess what? It's already done. I'm just waiting on it to play out.
Yes, every time, you know. And then I look at God as Himself as, I look at Jesus as a representation that as a human, you're gonna go through some things. You're gonna carry your cross. People are not gonna understand how you are or whatever. You know, I march to the beat of a different drum, and so in raising my kids, you know, I got to the point one time to where when it came down to disciplining my kids, I really started trying to listen to them. You know, because from their perspective, they had one option, and this was the best option. You know, this was the best option. And you're looking like, nah, man, you got options. I'm here. Potty training, for instance. You know, when your kid is going to go hide and go potty on themselves, you're like, hey, come tell me. I'm right here. Hey, what you doing? Come tell me. I'm right here. We do that as believers all the time. I got this one. I ain't going to really bother God with it because, hey, you know. And that's not the case, where you have to have someone that you can come to, and you got to know that, hey, two heads are better than one, you know. And so I'm a huge proponent in forgiveness. I'm a huge proponent in prayer. I'm a huge proponent in just, man, you know, I want to meet you where you're at, because as kids and as men, God meets us in our fear because we hope He can fix it.
you know, and that's the thing I think some of us really have to kind of struggle with, or a lot of us struggle with, is the concept of just really having that confident faith. And you exhibit that in how you communicate and how you live and how you're practicing. My question to you is, how did you get there? Like, what series of events got you to a point in which you have this resolute faith that, you know, I believe that it's done. I'm not having faith and hoping, but I have the belief that it's done. What series of events in your life led to that level of faith?
Man, so, one in particular, man, and I share this, man. It was in 2003. Oh, I'm sorry, 2007. The fast that I shared with you earlier, that was one, but I was still in this control mechanism of, I know right from wrong. Hey, God, you got to deal with what I'm gonna do wrong this time. All right, we'll fix it. We'll fix it in prayer. Don't worry about it. I was in command in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was running, and I had a stroke while I was running. You know, and it was where basically my entire body shut down, and I had a traumatic brain injury where I hit my head and all that good stuff, and they worked on me for 30 minutes to get me to start back breathing, right? And then by the time they got me to the hospital, they had finally stopped working on me for about 4 minutes, and the only people were there when I woke up was my wife and the chaplain reading my last rites. And so I tell you, in those, it felt like 4 to 5 minutes, but I could hear everything. A dead man can hear, I'm going to tell you that much now. And so as they're beating on me and putting these shocks into my chest and everything, I'm sitting there saying, I can hear you. I just can't move. I can hear you. I just can't move. Before this day, I was in the best shape of my life. I was doing it. I was a monster. And my confidence had an ego that was more arrogant than being conceited. I could finish your sentences. I could tell you how you felt. I could tell you, hey man, look, let me help you get that done. And I was arrogant to the degree that I knew I had confidence I could help you do anything, And even in my relationship, but even in my marriage, it was like, man, you know what? I got it. I can fix this. Ain't no problem. I got it. My apologies were arrogant. My bad. Let me fix it. So I wasn't trying to fix it in the circumstance of being remorseful. I was trying to fix it to show you that I could fix it. You know what I'm saying?
Stop right there.
Yeah.
You said you weren't trying to fix it in regards to being remorseful. You were trying to fix it just to show you that, hey, I can fix it. That is deep.
Yeah, I want you to feel better about me fixing it because I told you I could.
Oh Lord, that's deep.
Yeah. So then, in the doldrum of hearing everybody, and they're calling off these numbers, and the blood pressure's going lower, and then you just hear this one beat, and it's a beat. It's a long beat, and now they're shocking me. I can hear my body coming off the mat, coming down. Hey, hit him again. And in that moment, I started either dreaming or seeing, like I could see above my own body, and I could see everything I thought I ever got away with. Everything.
Wow.
Everything. Lies I told to kind of keep it from being too bad. Things that I had just done to just where God was like, I was watching you the whole time, bro. Even when I made deals with him. And so that whole bright light thing and that, and the third, no man, it's just cold. It's just cold because you're not, there's no more blood, there's no more, there's nothing going on. And what God was telling me in that moment was that since you feel nothing, I want you to know what it feels like to have nothing.
Ooh.
The whole time I could still hear and see them working on me. And the only revelation that came to me was like, hey, when I'm done with you, we won't have this conversation. And so to wake up as someone is reading your last rites, it puts you in a perspective of playtime's over. Playtime's over. And from that moment on, I just never looked back. I never looked back. Wherever God needed me, I was there. I understood that, sometimes it's for me just to sit back and listen, and other times you got to be bold, not just in your conviction about your spirituality or how you believe, but in your trust. Because trust is in the dictionary between so what and don't nobody care. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
Don't nobody care when you're going through. They can just say, oh man, I pushed the word out this morning about, people that ask how you're doing and people that ask you what you're going through. People want you to reflect on the past of where the devil had you in your emotions and you can blame someone. They don't want to see how you feel and where you can at least admit that I know God's going to work it out, And so everything in that future moment of what you have is where, what I had to understand was God's just allowing me to borrow these kids. That's it. And I get one chance to get them right. And the epiphany of watching a child go through their own depression and the things they worry about with having friends and making friends and, how they feel about themselves is a reflection of how they've watched you deal with emotions,
That's deep in itself right there. It goes back to the whole premise of, kids don't always do what they told, but they actually replicate or repeat what
Yeah,
they see, right? So
yeah,
how do they learn how to deal with stress? It's how
yeah,
mom and
yeah,
dad deal with stress. How do they deal with anger? It's how mom and dad deal with anger. How do they deal with conflict or fear or challenges or, insurmountable problems or whatever? It's all based off of how they see mom and dad model that.
yeah, yeah. And I tell you, man, it's really important because uh, my kids don't have to know the things that you're dealing with. It's not your kids aren't your therapist.
That's
Period.
right. That's right.
They're not your
100%.
therapist. And so when I wanna address black fathers and depression
Mm-hmm.
because you're already dealing with the deficit of where someone failed you.
Mm.
Then you have to deal with the deficit of never feeling good enough to be blessed with the great kids you have, and how are you going to make them better than
Ooh, that's
you,
deep.
right? And so the as a father, man, I went through this phase in time where I was like, man, I can't get sick, I can't be down, I can't cry, I can't, and I tell you, when my daughter used to look at me and she would be crying, she was like, you know what, I just feel bad for you. You don't even cry.
Mm.
Because they can see the hurt in you about whatever's going on, but you're so disconnected trying to fix it till, you're like, I say, hey, I cry on the inside, or, I just try to, and you can't fake it with kids. You can't fake it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't fake
You can't.
it. You have to be vulnerable to the degree that they're that they know the same as when they lying, they know when you lie.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you, like, part of the advice I always give folks when I'm doing like some kind of coaching or whatnot is spend a lot of time with really, really young folks, but then also
Mm-hmm.
spend time with a lot of, some elders, because
Yes.
those are two demographics from two different spectrums, but those are probably the most honest groups of people that you will ever interact with. If
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you, that little kid ain't gonna fool with you. And I always
No.
pay attention when a kid doesn't fool with an adult. I always sit back and just think about it. I'm like, there's something to that, because kids, they have no filter. They don't care your race, your size, your this, your that. They're just like, yo, if you're a good person, I'm with you. If there's
Yep.
something I don't feel right, I'm gonna back off. And then once you become an elder and you get to a certain age, you're afforded the flexibility to say whatever the heck you want to say. So
Yeah.
spending time with them is also good too.
Oh yeah, but you get to that point where it's like it costs me nothing to tell you how I feel because I'm
Absolutely.
not looking for new friends.
Absolutely. No new
And
friends.
you know, and the other piece I tell you is that as the one thing with your kids, as they're growing in time and everything, you just want your kids to come back home and visit you. You just want,
Absolutely.
hey, was I good enough for you to come back and say, hey, Pop, let's sit on the porch and drink some lemonade together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was missing with my kids. I was so busy trying to task orient them to what I thought their room should look like, or what pick the paper up and do this and do that, till I was missing that they was just like they were just happy to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to really honor that. Their little voices are really the biggest voice you're going to hear in a day. Because no matter how you feel, I mean, they're gonna be like, hey, all right, it'll be all right, hey, or they give you a hug or whatever. You're like, oh man, I need that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just a lot of the little things, man. I tell you, having the confidence to want to leave a legacy that, although I've been in the military 21 years, I didn't want my kids to have to do it, because I was like, you guys are so much smarter. And kids go through that phase where they say, I want to do whatever it is you're doing. You're like, I don't think you don't do that.
Yeah.
I kind of want you to find your way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and so yeah, so it's amazing. I have my kids that are with me, and even my oldest son that's out in California. Just the bond and the connection is so critical. I mean, that connection is just like it's unreal. So that's one thing I just look forward to on a daily basis. The way I'm like, if I'm missing my kids, I will go to their school and we'll have lunch. I can pop up. And they don't have this fear about. I see other kids, they like, hey man, your dad here. They be like, hey dad, what's going on? What's up? Hey, I just came to check in on you. How you doing? I'm doing good. What's going on? Now, you know, regardless of what age, like my ninth grader, he's kind of like, okay, how long you staying?
Yeah, he like, Daddy, I got a little girl I need to go around the corner and see real quick.
So,
So
yeah,
you need to get on back about your business. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like, but when I'm around, you know, it's just like one of them things where it's just a welcome environment. So I really had to do. I started doing this thing called Bandwagon Mike, and
Okay.
it's a little satires on Facebook where I was such a fanatic about Howard University football. It ain't that good.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame football, I love them, and the
Mm-hmm.
Chicago Bears. That my attitude sucked if they lost. I don't own no
Wow.
part of the team. I ain't even never played a sport. I never played a sport. I played chess in high school.
Hold on. So Howard, Notre Dame, and the Bears. Why those
Yeah.
three?
I don't know. I mean, I think somebody told me to like them one time. I don't know. I went to Howard.
Okay.
And a best friend of mine, he told me about Notre Dame football, and I just started watching it. And I was like, okay, I like it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Bears, you know, Walter Payton, all that good stuff when growing up. But and I just liked that he never yelled. You know, he was never the egotistical type of football player. So
Come on, Walter
I
Payton.
always liked it. Yeah, Walter Payton. Yeah.
They called him Sweetness. Mm-hmm.
Sweetness. Yeah. So I was like, but if they lost, I felt like I lost, and so I would walk around the house moping and grumpy. And so then I saw my kids started acting that crap out, and they didn't even watch sports.
Wow.
They didn't even watch sports. And they was like, so then I started watching sports, and I would go for, I said, look, this is what we'll do. We'll just go for the team that wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then around the house, they would have those jerseys. So I would put on my kids' jerseys as a grown man, and they would laugh, you know. And then after a while, after a couple of years, people just started calling me Bandwagon Mike, and that's how it started. So
wow. Bandwagon Mike. And so what's the whole, I mean, what's the result of, or what is it that you look to accomplish with Bandwagon Mike?
So Bandwagon Mike is about the authority to choose to be whatever you want to be. You know, you're not held to the constraint of having to like something because it's winning, or losing. Like sometimes people hold on to things that they just hold on to. You know, someone told me back in it's the worst advice ever. Hey man, it's okay to lie as long as nobody get hurt. I was like, no, that's actually wrong. And I didn't get that till I was in my 30s.
Wow. Wow.
You know, I was like, and like once the stroke hit, I was like, nah, that's actually pretty wrong. That's pretty wrong. You know what I'm saying? So bandwagon is like when you see somebody on the bandwagon, they really bandwagon in the thing that's winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's consistently winning. They don't know how it's winning. They just know it's winning. And so the thing is like this: if you hang out with 10 broke people, you're gonna have them find the 12th.
Absolutely. You
know,
absolutely.
11, you can find the 12th. Bandwagon, same way. You hang around winners, you're gonna find out how to be a winner. You know, so I started making the T-shirts on bandwagonmike.com, and then I also have what's called a motivational page called Motivational Speaking, where I send out affirmations. I can talk about the object of a stop sign. You know, a stop sign is meant for you to stay. It's not meant for you to stay there. It's meant for you to stop, take a look, and then go forward. And that's just really my theme about life, man. I can take anything and just find God in it, even in stuff that don't go well. You know, I mean, if somebody broke with me back in the day, I was like, thank you, Jesus. And now when I look at them on Facebook, I see why.
Hey, message.
I see why.
Man, and I'm gonna tell you, like, because you know, I think a lot of what you just mentioned goes back to what you were talking about in the sense that my faith has no hope in it, right?
None.
So when your faith has no hope in it, then you're free to find God in everything. You're free to find the message in everything. You're free to turn every situation, circumstance, object, win, loss, whatever. You're free to turn that into something that's applicable to life. To me, I liken it to the stanza from Langston Hughes' Live Your Creed, where he says, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the notion of putting it into action, but if your faith has no hope in it, your faith is in this thing is done, then you look at everything as an opportunity. And that's kind of how I try to view, that's how I've trained myself over the last few years to really see everything. I look at everything as an opportunity.
Man, let me tell you, and it makes some people sick, man. I'm going to tell you that now. I mean, there's so many people that say, man, you really get on my nerves because everything is not going to work out. I say, you haven't lived long enough to see yet.
Mm-hmm.
right? It's easy for you to say that today is all life's gonna be. When God gives you tomorrow, you need to earn
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
Mm.
Don't trust that I can give it to you. But if God gives you tomorrow, you gotta earn it. It's like He gave me today. Now what am I gonna do with it?
Wow, that's real.
Right? It ain't like you gotta start at night and then say, all right, really, can I get this morning back? That's
Mm-mm.
why words. That's why words and intentions are so important because you cannot sit around and use words and be intentional in the negative energy of things because you can't take them back.
That's right.
And so the one of the last things, and man, we gonna have to do this again.
Oh yeah, we can do it again.
Is apologies, man. I'm gonna tell you this right here. As Black fathers, you better be prepared to understand your love language and apologies.
Mm.
As adults, we just want to see the gratification that your behavior's changed and that you're remorseful, right?
Mm.
In children, you have to understand that you're going to be. Whoever taught you not to apologize to a child was wrong.
Mm.
That was
That's
wrong.
wrong. That's wild.
Right. If Jesus Christ can apologize for the things that they know not what they're doing, right? Then you apologizing to your children saying, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so therefore I can't, my actions that I've taken are not all on you. Right? And you're not gonna be the same. You're not gonna be the same. The same as that child is growing, you're growing. Same as that child is before that child gets here, you now have to think about every time you gotta feed him and everything, burp him and everything else. So for me, what I'm saying is this right here. You gotta learn how to forgive and be assured that the apology is worth your forgiveness.
Ooh, you better learn how to forgive and be
right?
assured that your apology is forgiven.
That your apology is worth your forgiveness.
Your apology is worth your forgiveness.
Yes.
Wow. Explain. Can you take a minute and explain that for me real quick?
That's how sincere it's got to be. You know what I'm saying? That's how sincere. If I miss something with my kids, I don't care if I'm late. I come up and I say, hey, man, I really apologize. I missed it. I should have put it on my calendar. All the things so that there are no excuses next time. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, hey, Dad, I got a game. I already took off work already. All right, cool. I'll be there. All right. And when you're there, you're in the moment. Not the phone, not the phone, not anything else. You're there. I don't care if they're riding the bench the whole time. You watch them on the bench. Hey,
absolutely.
Great high five with everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so when that apology, for me, with apologies, some people can say, man, you don't accept apologies. It's not that I don't accept them, but to a degree, the older you are, the more calculated I can see about how you were about doing what you did. I don't think that people lie. When people lie to you, I think that it's intentional. Whether it's out of fear or just that you don't have to know the whole truth, right? So those are hard for me to really look at and be like, man, you ain't got to apologize for lying. You just lied. Worry about it.
That's it. It's a done deal.
All right, I can't change it. I mean, hey, I thought one thing, you did one thing. Okay, cool. All right, cool. But when it comes down to those mistakes, that are genuine mistakes, hey, man, I spoke out of turn. I said something I really shouldn't have said. This is truly how I feel, and allow me to show you in my gratitude for understanding what I understand now, and let me earn your trust back in that.
You hit something there, and I think this will probably be a good point to put a pin in it. But the whole notion of, if this was intentional, what's the point of you apologizing? If it was a mistake, then yes, it makes sense for you to go forward and apologize. But that's, and fellas, I want y'all to hear that and think about that a little bit. If it's intentional, and this is like a rhetorical question for you to think about, what's the point of you apologizing? Because you intended to do it. On the flip side, if you made a mistake, it makes sense to apologize from a sincere place because you honestly made a mistake. That's it. I never thought about it that way. And that's going to be something that I'm going to have to process myself a little bit. But as we process this, you mentioned bandwagonmike.com. Is that where your shirts are?
Yeah, that's where the shirts are. Yeah, and I do custom shirts. And then I can do, family reunion shirts and stuff like that. And that's another one that I want to get back on here to just share with you again, because man, there's no way we can talk in 30 minutes. You know
Oh
that.
no,
You know
I
that.
know, I know. We as much as we talk, as much as we go through stuff, it start. What did you tell me? Everything in 10, it starts off supposed to be 2 minutes, and we end up
2
being
minutes.
nothing less than 45. So yeah.
Never.
But this will end up being one of our shortest conversations. So, fellas in the Black Fathers Now family, make sure to visit bandwagonmike.com. Is there anything else that you like to put out there for the brothers listening, man?
Right now, I mean, it's a lot of content, but right now, man, I'm just here to support and consult and work with brothers that are really trying to promote what it is to be genuine. You know, I'm all about being genuine. Whether you're doing podcasts and I'm more of a knowledge broker where I can bring you the plug for anybody that anything you're trying to do, I can help you do it. And we'll get into that later. But this is the one right here where I just kind of want you guys just to understand that, man, Bandwagon Mike is here to help put it together for you, help put it together with you. And I just love you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just it. That's all I can tell you.
And if brothers are interested in connecting with you as the plug, as the knowledge broker or whatnot, is Bandwagon Mike the best way to do so, or is there another way for them to connect?
Yeah. bandwagonmike@gmail.com.
Okay, bandwagonmike@gmail.com. So we'll make sure to have that in the show notes, fellas. And we got to run, but I want to say thank you to my man Mike Sturdivant for coming on and dropping some bars, helping us to think about faith and really disconnecting faith from hope and really looking at faith as really believing that it's done, right? And walking in that confidence. So I hope he dropped some things that you all can stop and take action on, because this is Black Fathers Now. It's about taking information, insight, and wisdom, but then putting it in a place in which you can apply it to life so that you can go and be the best man that you can be. And the default is hopefully you'll be the best father that you can be. So, Mike, I want to thank you for spending time with us today, brother. Fellas, visit bandwagonmike.com. If you have a question and want to connect with him as a knowledge broker, email bandwagonmike@gmail.com. Information's in your show notes. And as always, make sure to visit blackfathersnow.com. Follow Black Fathers Now on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email blackfathersnow@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure to share this out. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to podcasts, share this bad boy out. Make sure to leave ratings, leave comments, as it helps us to grow in the ratings. Because look, we're trying to touch every Black man in America. We want every brother that's a father, a potential father, that's connected to fathers or whatever. We want everyone to have heard about Black Fathers Now, because it's a lot of insight, inspiration, and wisdom from a diverse cast of Black males that, you know, you need to get up in your head so that you can put into action. So, fellas, until next time, thank my man Mike Sturdivant, and y'all be blessed, well, and wise, and we'll get at you. All right, peace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace.